Welcome to Friday's episode of Ticker Symbol Live. This is the first time I'm streaming here only on Ticker Symbol Live and not also on Ticker Symbol U. And man, do we have a great episode today. I'm going to roll right into it because I am super excited at what I found in the data. First thing I hope you notice is I bought the 1080p streaming package. I wouldn't call that out usually because no brainer to stream in high quality, except I just want to show you all of the charts. And now hopefully you can read it on your tiny phone screens and we can talk about it and you can follow along in high definition. First thing you'll notice, I have things ordered in terms of ARK rank. So what this is, if you're new to the live stream, is this is my quote unquote ARK reactor. So this big table just shows us a whole bunch of cool metrics of all of ARK's holdings across all 5 of their actively managed ETFs. Over on the right here, you can see a stacked bar chart of all of their positions, and the bars are colored by the amount of money that they have in that stock in each of their funds: ARKK, ARKG, ARKW, ARKF, ARKQ, and I will obviously add ARKX when ARKX comes out later this month. Today we'll be talking about Teladoc, ARK Invest's #2 position overall, and don't let the size of this bar fool you. If you take away ARKK, they actually have almost as much money invested in Teladoc as a pure play company as they do in Tesla. ARK Invest's confidence in Teladoc as a stock is massive, right? So I just want to call that out. The other thing you will notice is out of all of the stocks, they bought way more Teladoc yesterday than any other stock. And I'm going to show you why right now. So the only other thing I'll say is yesterday was a big buy day for ARK Invest. You know, the table is pretty green across the board. You know, assets under management is increasing by a large amount, and we do need to take that into account. But even still, I hope you can see that Teladoc yesterday was an outsized buy, and that's exciting. Let me show you why. Switch screens, share screen. So let's start with the fund that Teladoc has the most stake in, right? Teladoc is the #1 position in ARKG. ARKG, as everyone knows, is the most exciting of ARK's pure play ETFs. It's the genomic space. Kathy Wood has often called this the next set of FANG stocks and constantly compares genomics to the performance of Tesla. And that's where the title of this video comes from, because I'm going to show you Teladoc's performance compared to Tesla and why I think it's such a good buy today and why I am buying this stock on market open, hence the point of this whole series, right? So Teladoc, the #1 position with 7% in ARKG, and you can see that ARKG has been pretty beat up over the last couple weeks. If we compare that to Tesla, here's the 6-month view of Tesla. I hope this is a good enough view, right? We can see it's down about 20% from its all-time highs, Tesla stock. We can look at Square from its all-time high, down 12.6%. Hold on to your butts because Teladoc is down 32%. That means if it touches its all-time high and we buy in right now, that's almost a 50% gain from $200 to $300, right? Almost a 50% gain. That's why I'm super excited about Teladoc stock right now. Okay, so why, like, that's cool. We're talking about price action, but this is a vision-focused channel, right? Ticker Symbol U is all about that top-down approach, understanding what a stock is and its role in our vision of the future. Ticker Symbol Live, again, I just want to show you the price action around this stock, ARK Invest's second biggest holding, to show you that today may be a good entry point for you. I know it is for me. I want to quickly mention this is not financial advice, but this is what I am doing myself, and I am just showing you through video my thought process for following ARK Invest, right? Cool. So ARK Invest has 5 big pillars of disruptive innovation platforms, right? Artificial intelligence, blockchain, DNA sequencing, energy storage, and robotics, and a whole bunch of technologies that are forming out of combinations of those 5 things. Teladoc sits in an interesting place. It sits in 4 of their funds, right? It's combining, I think, some pretty clever stuff. Follow me here. Artificial intelligence, value transfer, not monetary value transfer. I'll explain that in a second. The Internet of Things, cloud connection, and then, you know, what I'll call the broad healthcare stuff, right? If you can't see my cursor too well, I'm circling the yellow circles here, right? Artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and value transfer. When I say value transfer, I don't mean money. I mean visits and consultations with doctors without requiring going to the hospital. They're exchanging real value over the internet without needing to go sit in a clinic, without needing to sit in a busy hospital, wait in line, all that. The doctor is able to come to you through Teladoc. So let's spend a little bit of time and talk about this new frictionless value transfer of medical advice, medical information, and artificial intelligence helping people make decisions about their healthcare, which is valuable, right? Doctors charge and make a lot of money, so do hospitals. That's value, right? Telehealth is the future. Just calling this out. Telehealth is the future, period. That's the end of that sentence. So let's dive into Teladoc's investor presentation really quick, and then I'll show you the price action one more time, and then I will let you go for market open. Short and sweet. This is Teladoc's investor presentation. It's the latest one. I'm just scrolling to the top to show you what the cover looks like. If you Google Teladoc IR presentation, you will find this document. It's from January 2021, so it's very recent, right? I'm going to scroll down past all of their awesome financials. Just a quick note here, those accelerating growth curves, showing exponential growth, exactly what we're looking for, right? EBITDA in 2016, negative. EBITDA in 2020 estimates, very positive, and you can fit an exponential curve to almost all of these things. The finances are a no-brainer. ARK Invest is an investment platform. They do a great job sniffing out who's investing in the right companies, which companies are reinvesting in themselves in the right ways, right? Gonna blow past that. Teladoc is all about virtual care delivery, right? Virtual care delivery, provider enablement. So, helping de-stress actual healthcare providers by offering solutions to let them interact with people 24/7 online and take out some of the queue, right? The people waiting for things that they may not have to be waiting for, right? By handling those either automatically or even through automation or even through like some canned answers, kind of like a help desk, but for your health, right? And then chronic care empowerment, right? That's the big one. People need check-ins based on chronic illnesses or diseases. They need a certain regimen of care, and you can say, hey, I know your care schedule, and be proactive about managing that care instead of reactive every time something comes up, right? So a lot of that is data-driven. And you can imagine, so one thing we don't often think about is all of the noise that healthcare providers have to deal with, right? People who go to the hospital, but it turns out didn't need to be there. And this is bad for three different sets of people. It's bad for the customer who went in because they thought they had an issue that they needed to go in for. It's bad for the doctor who had to spend time addressing a non-issue. And it's bad for the hospital who has to deal with an extra influx of people, doctors who are using their time suboptimally, and people who are leaving unfavorable reviews or however, they choose to leave feedback for the hospital because they had an unpleasant experience that cost them time and energy and emotion, right? For something that didn't need to occur, right? So here's some examples of the real questions Teladoc is addressing. I want a better way to access my primary care. My doctor told me I need surgery. I want a second opinion. My blood pressure is out of control in real time. I need help, right? I need help managing my stress and anxiety. Now start thinking about how many of these things can be addressed online without having to go to a physical clinic, especially in the modern era where we want everything to go as contactless and as remote from home as possible, right? So Teladoc really entering a great space and disrupting a legacy version of that space. This whole week, we've been talking about the same thing in three different stocks, right? We've been talking about Tesla and the disruption of automotive and utilities, big legacy industries. We've talked about Square and the disruption of banking, big legacy industry. And now we're talking about Teladoc, disrupting the healthcare legacy industry. So let's look at how Teladoc is addressing these questions. Behavioral nudges, right? This is data-driven. Hey, I'm bucketing you into buckets of people like you, and I can give you all behavioral nudges, right? Everyone who needs a reminder to keep their blood sugar low, to keep their diet in check, to do a weekly check on their, weight or a chronic illness or whatever it is that they are trying to behaviorally do better at, you don't need to go to a doctor to remind you to do that, or a clinic, or a nurse or a doctor's aide. Data can provide that information. When you upload stats and it's compared to an average of people like you can say, hey, you should try making these behavioral modifications, and you should notice an increase to your health, your mood, and your happiness, right? Self-service, a lot of the problems that people address, go to doctors to address with, like we saw, may be able to be self-served, right? Which takes that load off of the doctor and hospital system to do those things. So one of the things that Teladoc is doing very well is spreading the load of healthcare on the healthcare system, just like we talked about with AutoBidder, spreading the load of energy automatically based on who needs it, when, where, and how, and storing energy when people don't need to use it to offload it when people do. Same thing with health informatics, bioinformatics, etc., right? Digital therapeutics, same thing, right? Digital check-ins, whether they're artificial intelligence driven or human to human, person to person, one-on-one with your doctor for private consults, or group consults, right? Doing a one-to-many relationship where a doctor can have people sign in for a half-hour clinic, but now it's one-to-many, everyone's in their own home, it's not a crowded room, right? And they can address common questions among the 30 people who have the same question in one clinic session instead of 30 identical clinic sessions, right? We can go down and down through the presentation, but what I want to talk about is the suite of solutions is worth more than the sum of its parts, right? Because they control the data from all of these things, just like we talked about Square, and they're getting that data, they can fuel data-driven solutions from everything they learn, pull it together, and extract new insights by combining data that used to be siloed in medicine, right? So think about data from clinics. Hey, who is asking the most questions? What kind of questions are they asking? And then mapping that to services doctors can go back and provide through new clinic hours, right? That's important. So a big piece of this is becoming artificial intelligence, even though we're talking about healthcare. Just like we saw artificial intelligence play a big role in Square, just like we saw artificial intelligence play a big role in Tesla. The reason I'm bringing all those up is because I'm just describing ARK's biggest 1, 2, and 3 holdings across all of their ETFs. Teladoc currently number 2. During yesterday's recording, it was number 3. Right? And then another thing I want to call out, right? Think about how powerful this is for mental health care. A lot of the things for mental health care result in consults, talking to someone, being able to share things privately with a doctor, being able to have auto updates, being able to have auto check-ins, being able to have a regimen that helps you address your mental health needs, right? Mental health is an increasingly important issue in society, especially today. And Teladoc is providing a virtualized, safe, and still private online experience to be able to address some of these things, and collecting the right data to be able to proactively keep addressing them through new solutions in the future, right? And so that's what's being described here on the bottom gray rectangle, right? Everything from self-directed to a virtual provider to coaching, which is what I was just describing, to referrals for in-person care. Hey, there could be something that you're approaching Teladoc with that really requires you to go in for a doctor now, or a second opinion. You need to seek real medical professional for sure. Here's a referral, right? We can help you with that online without you having to go to a doctor only to get a referral for another doctor, right? Cool. And then this is the last thing I really want to point out is this framework really strikes me as super proactive and super engaging because it's very similar to the investment framework that we've been sharing on the channel over and over and over again. You aggregate information, right? For Teladoc, it's data. For us, it's the research we do on disruptive innovation. We interpret that data and we form our vision of the future. Teladoc interprets that data and forms a new vision of the future of healthcare, right? The services it needs to provide, the people it wishes to enable, the cohorts it wishes to help, and the doctors it wishes to, provide solutions for and alleviate the stress from. It applies those solutions just like we apply that framework to the stock market, right? We apply that framework through investing, through research, through conversations, through community and all that. Teladoc is applying it in its software stack, right? It's a AI-driven virtual internet first version of healthcare. And then it iterates, right? It makes its solution better. And we make our investment thesis in companies like this better through data, through bottom up research, through the stuff on ticker symbol live, right? So this half of the feedback loop is ticker symbol U, research and vision. This half of the feedback loop is ticker symbol live, application and feedback from the market, right? So I thought this was a really beautiful, it took me a long time to explain that framework for myself. Teladoc's doing it in 4 words, and it's very intuitive and crisp, right? And it's helping its members, it's helping its care providers, and it's helping the clients of Teladoc, get more bang for their buck and more use out of their solutions, right? So really, it's a win-win-win. Healthcare system, clientele, and the individual healthcare providers. And the last thing I want to show you, I thought this was awesome. So they're scaling in every dimension that's possible, right? Teladoc allows more people to engage with the system, right? When you virtualize things, you reduce friction, you reduce wait times, you increase comfort because now I'm asking questions from my own home. More people are going to sign up for that. It can offer more products. It's digital, so it doesn't scale with buildings like big banks or big hospitals. It scales with more digital offerings, right? So more people using more offerings, using each offering more often, that's utilization. You're forming a habit, right? By checking in with Teladoc on your iWatch or whatever, especially if you have a chronic condition that requires constant real check-in, right? Which is more utilization. And then, Teladoc can turn knobs and say, hey, we're going to get more profit. We're going to approach things this way. We think this will drive more value. Let's open up these new areas of service and scope. That's expanded revenue models. So it's scaling both vertically and horizontally because there's lots of care to provide to lots of people in lots of different areas within healthcare. And that is the exponential curve that Teladoc is seeking to capture in their total revenue, right? So I just want to say, I'll leave that on this, right? When Cathie Wood is talking about exponential curves, they're not exponential because they're cool and interesting and everyone's buying in and that's causing this big feedback loop in the stock market. They're exponential because real business decisions are able to multiply how these stocks scale, right? A little bit more members turns into a lot more members. A little bit more products turns into a lot more products. Everyone using those products more often because they're doing a better job at making those products engaging, and then offering new ways, right? Subscription models versus, one-time purchases to engage with each of those products. All of those things, it's a shame that this shows a plus here because I want to be super clear. These things multiply. They don't add, they multiply. And that's why this is an exponential curve because they're multiplying factors that are allowing Teladoc to scale. So that's the end of the stream. I'm going to take some preliminary questions only about Teladoc, but I just want to show you why I'm so excited about it today. It's down a little bit in pre-market and it's almost 33% off its all-time high, which means if you buy Teladoc and it reaches its all-time high again, that's a 50% gain, right? 50. So I personally, this is not financial advice, I personally am buying Teladoc today at market open because of what ARK Invest has taught me about it. Cool. Let's take a few questions. Teladoc, 7% of ARKG. That's right. It's the #1 holding in ARKG, ARK's #2 holding currently overall, and it's a fantastic stock. And if we go back and we look at the ARK reactor, you'll see it's actually in 4 of ARK Invest funds, 4 out of 5, right? It's one of the only stocks to be in that many funds. Just waiting for telehealth to include the use of portable devices. So depending on what you mean, they already do that. My cell phone is a portable device. You can access Teladoc through your cell phone. I assume you mean portable medical devices. I unfortunately don't know much about that space and how that would integrate with your phone to communicate with Teladoc between Teladoc, the actual medical device, and you. But I imagine between Bluetooth and other more secure wireless signals, that could be in the future. You know what I mean? I can imagine a world where an insulin pump talks to your phone, auto updates Teladoc, and you form a strong feedback loop between those 3 technologies, you, the medical device, and Teladoc, to create a data-driven feedback loop to benefit your own healthcare over time. I actually don't know the answer, but my initial guess on why it could be in the fintech ETF is because it is reducing the friction of value transfer. And that was something that I pointed to back here, right? So if I go back to this, what we mean by value transfer typically, excuse me, what I mean and what ARK separately means, I'm not affiliated with ARK in any way, right? Is we typically mean money here, right? Like when you are transferring value, we typically think of like frictionless transfer of dollars. But Teladoc is frictionlessly transferring value of a different kind. It's medical information, access to healthcare, access to doctors, access to clinical information as you need it, which has real substantial value, right? The healthcare system in America is an extremely monetarily valuable system, right? So value transfer, in my mind, to me, can mean more than just money. It can mean access to essentially privileged information, including, psychotherapy, right? You log online and you talk to your therapist one-on-one. That's a value transfer. You're exchanging money for real value in a different form. And that's being made frictionless by companies like Zoom. Teladoc is making it frictionless in the healthcare industry. There are a lot of great competitors to Teladoc. I actually haven't researched specifically Teladoc's competitors because ARKG actually holds a lot of different stocks with a lot of different medical solutions and implications. Long read gene sequencing, gene editing, Teladoc, which is doing more like medical access through the digital era. I don't really know a lot about the medical space. And it seems to me that ARK Invest is holding a lot of like individual solutions they believe in, as opposed to holding 5, 6, 7 companies in the same space that are directly competing, right? I know that there's a lot of information sharing going on in the medical industry to help, people with patents let other services and products use those patents, right? Instead of them being like, oh, we're going to keep this information for ourselves and have an outsized gain. There seems to be a lot more information sharing in the medical community. Good explanation. Yeah, think insurance. Exactly. Yeah. So, being able to transfer value in different ways is key to what Teladoc is doing. That value in this case isn't money, it's medical access to information. This is the last question I'll take. I think this is super important, and I'm going to call this out every time I hear it. What do you think will happen with Teladoc when Corona is over and people prefer to consult a physical doctor instead? I do not think that will happen. I do not think that people will prefer to go back to physical interaction after the coronavirus. This has been a real period of innovation, disruptive innovation for companies, because people see the convenience, are forced to see the convenience of doing things digitally, whether it's shopping, access to healthcare, new ways of thinking about utilities and transportation, new ways of thinking about transferring monetary value. A lot of people have been forced into trying things digitally only to find it's very convenient. They're not going to give up that convenience just because doors open in the future, right? Retail will not, in my opinion, retail, brick and mortar, banking, all the stuff you used to do physically will never fully recover from the new digital capture. We see that in e-commerce, for example. E-commerce has jumped 4 years worth of growth in this last year. That growth might slow, but they're not going to lose that growth when doors open, right? Some people may prefer shopping a lot, like in-person shopping. Most people will be like, hey, digital is super easy, quick, and convenient, and I've been doing it for a year now. I'm not going back. That, I think, is going to be especially true for doctor's visits. And I think as a result, Teladoc, while it's 33% down from the market, is going to have outsized gains in the near term, even to the point where I can believe that it will outperform Tesla. Again, Tesla 20% down, Teladoc almost 1/3 down right now, and down on pre-market. So it will be 1/3 down, meaning if it hits an all-time high, it will have appreciated 50% from where it is today. That's what I'm going to leave you with. This is ticker symbol U. My name is Alex, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in you.